Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fortifying Your Faith. My name is Haston Hanley, and I'm so glad you can be with us as we are going to be closing our discussion this week on becoming available to help. I guess closing our discussion on becoming available by discussing being available to help, I guess is the better way of putting that. But before we get into this week's episode, I want us to spend just a few minutes talking about, as I have in the past two episodes, the Gathered Together Conference with Scattered Abroad. That's going to be July 29th through August 2nd at the Spring Hill Suites in Murray, Kentucky. We would love to have you come out, spend a day or up to the entire conference with us, as we're going to be looking at 200 lessons centered around the Psalms. That's discussing every single chapter of Psalms, as well as 50 special topics. There's going to be some ladies' classes, I believe, even within this. So there's something for everyone. We would love to have you come out and to be with us as we're kicking off the inaugural conference with Scattered Abroad. And so be looking out for that. We would love to have you with us. But as we are looking at a challenge to change our availability, 2 weeks ago, or 2 episodes ago, I should say, we discussed adjusting our fellowship. Because if we don't take time and change our schedule, change our mindset towards spending time with Christians, we're never going to be successful as helpers, successful as those seeking to actually encourage and build up one another. Last week, or last episode, we discussed a challenge to change our growth. And if we aren't willing to grow, then we have a major problem. That is, we are struggling with lack of knowledge, lack of ability, and lack of approval by God. And so today I want us to discuss the need to grow and become available to help. Each one of us within our own way has a unique ability to help strengthen and encourage a Christian near you. Now, the fact is, just like with evangelism, there are people that you can help and you can build up that I cannot, because of that relationship that you have. The very same way, there are people who will not and cannot know the gospel unless someone that they know teaches them. So, are we willing to help? A few episodes ago, we discussed fellowship in the sense of spending time with one another. I want us to go back to some of those passages as well. Acts chapter 2, beginning in verse 44, how those early Christians had possessions and sold them and divided the money as every Christian had a need. They took that time to help one another. They weren't just saying, well, somebody else can figure it out. They weren't saying, well, no one taught me, so I'm not going to help them out by teaching them. Instead, they took a very opposite approach to that. They had the blessings of land, maybe livestock, maybe clothes even, and they sold it so that way they could take care of those around them. There was that communal need of actually taking care of one another rather than only looking out for self. You look again at chapter 4 of Acts, and you look at Barnabas. He's literally nicknamed the son of consolation or comfort because he was striving to help Christians in their struggles. He was striving to help them be comfortable. What did he do? He had a piece of land. He sold it and took every single bit that he had and gave it to the congregation to help those in need. Are we willing to do the same thing? I'm not meaning go out and sell everything you have and donate it to the church. What I'm saying is, are we actually willing to fill in the cracks of those around us? Those that need help. Maybe they need a listening ear. Maybe they need something as simple as someone to drive them to a doctor's appointment. Maybe it's something as extreme as maybe needing financial aid, or something as simple as giving them a can of corn for their dinner. Now, yes, I would encourage you to give them more than just a single can of corn, but still, are we actually willing to help? Because Galatians chapter 6 and verse 10, Paul tells them, as you have opportunity, see that you do good unto all men, and especially those of the household of faith. Are we actually willing to do good to those around us? The rich young ruler looked at Jesus and said, "Who is my neighbor?" trying to find a way so that he could only help the people that he wanted to help. And he went away sad when Jesus said, "Go and do like the Samaritan. Go and take care of those around you." Not just in proximity, maybe the people who don't like you. Maybe the people who don't like you because you're a Christian. Still do good to them and help them. Because the greatest help that we can be is to teach someone the truth. Have you ever realized that? You go again to the book of Acts and just hang out here for a while. Acts chapter 8, verses 26 through 40, with Philip and the eunuch. Philip sat there and taught him about Jesus, because the eunuch said, "How can I know unless someone teaches me?" Philip could have easily said, "Well, I really hope someone comes along and teaches you, but, you have a great day and I'll see you later." Would that have done any good? No, of course it wouldn't have. And so you see him preaching unto him Jesus. Acts chapter 18 and verses 24 through 28, you have Apollos, who is a wonderful speaker, who is in Ephesus preaching about the baptism of John. He had the right intention, he had the right motivation, but he didn't have the full story. You see, his doctrine was out of date for a while. But yet, Aquila and Priscilla stand there and bring him to the side and teach him the way of the Lord more perfectly. What an amazing way to actually help him. They didn't look at him and say, "Man, I would love to sit down and study with you, but we just don't have the time. I've got to get my kids to baseball practice. I'm sure somebody else will talk to you about the gospel, just not right now for me." All the while they're sitting there, or he would be sitting there teaching false doctrine. What about us? Are we becoming too busy to actually be faithful, to help, to encourage? So, for the rest of this week, why not try and find some way to actually encourage a Christian around you, to encourage someone around you, even if they're not a Christian? Next week, Lord willing, we're going to sit down and we're going to look at the need to change our eyesight. But until then, let's continue to study, let's continue to grow, so that way we can all fortify our faith.